This is my review of the movie Uncharted, which is based on a popular PlayStation series set of games. Now, I've been a big fan of the Uncharted games since the first game on the PlayStation 3, and I don't know if I've told a story about that when I first got the PS3, there was a demo available of Uncharted 1, as it's called, and I played the demo of it and absolutely loved it. And then what ended up happening is that I checked on one of my local retailers, and then they had the game on sale, but the game was actually was at a slightly higher price due to the postage and packaging. So without the postage and packaging, the game was a lot cheaper. But the thing was that we only had one copy of it in stock, so I went down the following morning, got to the store, and then picked up the game, and then I played it, and then I ended up thoroughly enjoying the actual game. And then from the first time I played the first game, I was totally hooked. And then obviously the second game came out, which is probably my favorite one. And then the third one came out, which I also played, and I really enjoyed it on the PS3. And then the fourth one came out for the PlayStation 4, which I think you've seen. My brother bought me the special edition version of that for my birthday, and I still haven't played it yet. And obviously I think that came with some stuff, the actual game, in the actual game case, and also got a steelbook. Maybe I might do a proper detailed video of that, but I think there is a short video of that without me talking on that. And I know that there's a way, obviously, of playing the game on PlayStation 5, and it's slightly enhanced. So you got that game. Then there was a spin-off game with Chloe Fraser that was on the PS4 as well. I've got that, but I haven't played that. But I pretty much know. I've seen the walkthroughs of the last two previous games. So yeah, I'm a massive Uncharted fan. I just love the actual story that goes on in the actual game, and the actual chemistry between the actual characters and the actual cutscenes. It feels like you're kind of watching a movie, which is kind of funny. And it's just their repertoire with Drake and Victor and the other characters that are in the game that we see throughout the games. What I've always liked about Nathan Drake is he's always had a heart of gold, but he's got this kind of like sarcastic wit and charm about him, and I think that's what makes the game so, enjoyable. And when you're playing all the Uncharted games, there's something about that character, about the Nathan Drake character. He's kind of like more of a hippie Indiana Jones, if you will. So anyway, we get back to the film. This film came out in 2022. Now, obviously, it's been in development for a few years now, and then it went through different directors and different writers and different actors that were up for the role of Nathan Drake and the other characters in the actual movie. And there were, fans wanted the actor Nathan Fillion as Nathan Drake because he kind of looked like him, and then obviously he's very good at being able to deliver that kind of a wit, so I can kind of see that. But obviously with the film being through development hell, and then maybe it's because the actor's getting older, things kind of change along the way. And then eventually they had Mark Wahlberg, and he was linked into playing the role of Nathan Drake at one point, and then he ended up being cast as Victor Sullivan, and then they eventually went for Tom Holland. Now, before I kind of state my feelings on the actual movie itself, I want to say that I am a big Tom Holland fan. I mean, he's a really good actor, especially in the Spider-Man movies, and there's something about him that's kind of very he's very likable as an actor. I mean, obviously I don't know the guy in person, but he just comes across as just being very kind of likable. So any criticism that I have in the movie is not superficially based on him as a person, but for me, what kind of obviously what I will say that's great about the movie is that the first part of it obviously is set in the past. It's more of a flashback, and that section of it where he's with his brother, it reminded me of Uncharted 4, with the storyline about with him having a brother. His name is Sam, and that was kind of great. So I liked how they kind of took that element of, you know, Uncharted 4 with the flashbacks in that game, and then used it in this movie, which I thought was actually really kind of a nice take. So that part was kind of great. So you kind of, when certain things happened, it wasn't exactly the same way as things panned out, not the same way, but you know, you could see where they were influenced by the fourth game. So that was kind of great. So I like the fact that in some of the things that happened in the movie were influenced by the different games. And obviously this Nathan Drake, he is supposed to be younger, but for me, I'm used to seeing Nathan Drake a lot older rather than as a kid. Now in Uncharted 3, you do see him as a kid when you play as him as a kid in the first part of the game. So, you know, those elements were kind of were kind of great. And then obviously this kind of it shows you the introduction of how Nathan Drake meets Victor Sullivan, which we don't completely see in the games. Although I know there's an Uncharted game on the PlayStation, also on the PS Vita, which I don't know if that totally explains it, because obviously that's set before in the first game on the PS3. And then basically it's kind of like this, you kind of see how their relationship kind of grows. So, and then there's other characters like the character of Chloe Fraser, who we see in Uncharted 2, and she's in the third one if I remember correctly. And then obviously she, as I said before, she has her own spin-off game set after Uncharted 4, so you see her character in it, so that was kind of great. So yeah, it was basically, you know, I mean, but if I had to say my honest thoughts of the movie, I thought it was just average, and I think some of it is because of the fact that being a huge Uncharted fan, you kind of have really, really high expectations of what you expect. And for me, if I'm going to be really, really honest, and again, this is what I was saying about for me, it's not attacking the actors of Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg. For me, it just didn't feel like a Uncharted game. Well, should I say, it didn't feel like the game, which I know that's kind of hard to kind of explain or to expect from translating a video game to a movie. So why I found it didn't feel like it is that basically, so that when you play any of the Uncharted games, obviously for the most part you're controlling the actual character. So if you want to do like headshots or certain things, then you have control of what you do in that particular game. But the actual cutscenes, which are the story narratives, it's already telling the story about what's happening in the progress of the actual story of the game. So basically, if you were to pretty much take all the cutscenes that are in each of the games, so let's say for example you've got Uncharted 1, basically you could take all the cutscenes out of that, put it all together, and you could pretty much make their own movie, because the actual storytelling in it and the actual things that were going on in the actual cutscenes, it basically already was a narrative story already. So seeing it then on live action, you would think it kind of would work because you would follow that kind of formula, but for me it just doesn't work. The only way to describe it is it kind of felt like it was just really the whole essence of what Uncharted was. It felt like it was just watered down in my book, but it wasn't. But I enjoyed it for that. But being obviously an Uncharted fan, I'm probably going to be a little bit more hard on it. For somebody that maybe hasn't watched it, played the game, should I say, you probably would enjoy the movie a lot more than somebody who's who's played the video games already. But as I said, the thing about with all the games is that because the game is telling a narrative. It's in essence telling the story of what's going on in that particular game, whether it's Uncharted 1, 2, 3, 4, or the close spin-off. So you're already getting that story already. So it's got nothing. So watching the live action, right, you're kind of expecting the same kind of in-depth narrative storytelling that you're seeing in the game, and for me, you kind of don't get that. Nathan Drake, for me, he's basically a guy that's got a heart of gold, where he kind of carries on like he only cares about gold and treasure and about trying to find the latest artifact. But at the end of the day, with him, he's not always about money. He's at the end of the day, he's always trying to do the right thing, and then he cares about all of the characters that he's involved in. And I think that's what makes his character so enduring. And then on top of that, his character is very funny, he's very sarcastic, and he's very witty. And when he's human, and even when the odds are against him, he's still kind of chirping and laughing and being sarcastic, even when he knows that he's in a position where he's going to get killed. Then you've got characters like Victor Sullivan, who's pretty much the father he kind of never had. And you always get the impression with him that he only cares about, going on the next mission to find gold so that he can be rich, which is true in how he is. But at the end of the day, he always does the right thing because he always cares about Nathan Drake. So that's why I said that, in a sense, that he's kind of the father he kind of never had. So he always does the right thing, even when they don't always kind of agree. And all the other characters that come along into the adventure throughout the different games that have been in the Uncharted franchise, they all tag along, and it's like they're kind of a big kind of family. And that's why, for me, why I enjoyed the Uncharted games, because it wasn't just about the graphics of the actual game, or it being a blockbuster game. What I enjoyed about the Uncharted games is basically, so I love the character interactions. The story was always interesting. The acting with the voice actors, especially with Nolan North, the different bad guys. It was basically like watching a mini movie. Basically like watching a CGI movie, and that's the reason why. Obviously, for me, the Uncharted games have always been very, kind of endearing in, playing all the games, because it's probably the one and the only franchises where I've played it multiple times, and even though I know what's going to happen, I still enjoy it. But it's just the whole narrative of the entire story arc which makes the game so fun. So if you're a person maybe that's never played any of the Uncharted games, I'd highly recommend it. And as I said, I had the first 3 games on PS3, and then they released a remastered version called the Uncharted collection on the PS4, which had the remastered versions of Uncharted 1, 2 and 3. So I decided to buy it again, and it was and normally I don't do that, but I decided to rebuy it, and it was well worth it. With the textures and the character detail looking a hell of a lot better. But yeah, I mean, I'm glad I watched the movie because I support it. They were screening. It was a Sky movie premiere, so obviously I didn't have to sit there and pay for it. And I kept missing the film when they were airing it. But then what I ended up doing was I just downloaded it on my Sky Plus box, and then I watched it. So I'm glad I took the time to, to watch it. I don't think that especially with the price of the cinema tickets these days now, that I would have paid full price to sit. I would have paid like full price to see something like that because I don't think it was kind of worth it. But if I was seeing it like in a matinee where it was really cheap, I probably would have sit there for a couple of quid. I probably would have watched. But I'm glad I was able to watch it this way. But for me, it was just an average movie. And as I said before, my expectations of playing the video games and the story narratives and the way the characters acted in the video games, and you kind of expected them to act similar in the film, but they weren't. And I know that's a hard thing to ask for, like, totally new. Obviously, there were voice actors in the games, and then motion capture, of course. But I know it's a lot to ask that you're trying to get a character that you established Nolan North's voice and voice mannerisms with the character of Nathan Drake, and then you're getting somebody completely different to trying to act like it, to be like that character. And for me, as I said before, aside from the actual title itself, as I said before, it didn't feel like an Uncharted game at all. So it didn't, not game, should I say? It didn't feel like the film of the game, so to speak. So I mean, that's why for me, if I had to give it a mark, I probably would give it probably a 6.5 out of 10. I mean, they're probably going to do a sequel, and hopefully they'll have a lot more to play with. Now, what I will say is that if you do watch it, there are 2 very interesting cutscenes, post-credit scenes, should I say, especially the very first one. And it ties in with Nathan Drake, and it kind of ties in with Uncharted 4. So that I will give it credit for. And you see the second post-credit scene. And what I did think was a nice touch, however, was at the end of when the credits start to roll up after the second post-credit scene, you do hear the familiar Uncharted theme from the actual game, and it's exactly the same. So that was a really nice touch. But those are my thoughts on the Uncharted movie. So let me know if you've watched it and maybe if you liked it or not, or didn't like it. So anyway, I'll try and do more reviews when I can, and I do apologize if I do sound a bit bunged up and a bit hoarse because I'm just recovering from the flu at the moment. So I'm nearly back to my old self. So wherever you are in the world, take care, stay safe, and I'll speak to you all again soon. Bye for now.